why a developing country like Pakistan, with modest resources, needs to arrange and organize such a large military exercise in which navies from 60 countries are attending. What is the objective and significance of this exercise?
Good governance at sea is essentially required for the transit trade routes to be kept open. Because you know that 80% of the total trade of the world is plying at sea. And for Pakistan, it is 90 plus.
What is the significance and key features of maritime diplomacy and how it is different from other types of military diplomacy?
Diplomacy is the first line of defense, and defense is the last. The national interests are always guarded by the diplomatic corps. So we will showcase Pakistan's soft image as well, and along with that, the military drills will be conducted.
How does such events benefit Pakistan? For a Pakistani, how does naval diplomacy or maritime diplomacy helps Pakistan promote itself?
Yeah, everything I think is linked with one important activity, and that is the trade at sea.
Viewers, very warm welcome to another episode of V News English program Perspectives, in which we bring before you some of the most informed perspectives from leading authorities on most critical issues from around the world. So today we are going to discuss an issue which is very critical and affects the entire world, but is rarely discussed and debated. That is maritime security. Viewers, Pakistan is currently hosting a global event of monumental proportion. Pakistan is currently hosting navies from around 60 countries as part of a multilateral naval exercise called AMAN-25. So in order to discuss its purpose, significance, objectives, we are joined today by one of the leading authorities of maritime security, a leading naval officer, Vice Admiral Ahmed Saeed, who is currently the president of the National Institute of Maritime Affairs and brings with him illustrious and long-standing service in Pakistan Navy for 41 years. Admiral Saab, thank you so much for joining us. So let me first ask you, why should a country which faces economic challenges and is a developing country host 60 countries right now? And what do we offer to navies from 60 countries?
Yeah, to start with, I think its logo takes the significance in a way that when we talk about Together for Peace, actually Together for Peace has a very, very large, you can say very deep meanings in a way that this peace is basically a good governance at sea. And good governance at sea is essentially required for the transit trade routes to be kept open. Because you know that 80% of the total trade of the world is plying at sea. And for Pakistan, it is 90 plus. So our oil supply lines are passing through these areas. So Navy or the maritime forces, you can say in a broader terms, they remain 24/7 on alert and provide security to all these shipping lanes and associated infrastructure which is related to it. So this is the broader term of it. But having said that, why Pakistan is doing this, as you said, Pakistan is actually very, number one, is one of the responsible nation of this region, whereby we have been entrusted with to not only to safeguard our own interests, but to safeguard the global interests. This is something which is different on land and which is different on sea. The areas which have been entrusted to the maritime nations, they have been given this mandate through the UN Clause 1982 that they will have to provide good governance and safety security in these areas for the neutral shippings, that we call it innocent passage. So within that, we work in these areas, but about 60% of the seas, which is called the high seas, they are not under any jurisdiction of any maritime nations. So there you need to have collaborative systems working with other nations to provide this kind of security at sea. So for that reasons, all the nations, the maritime nations, which are about 152 nations, which are the maritime nations, they have interests all over the world. Like Pakistan, wherever our trade is going, that is the interest for the Pakistan also. So our 60% export is going towards the Europe and America, whereas 40% is going to the eastern side. So in all those areas, wherever there is a problem, so Pakistan Navy is to guard our national interest. Recently, you must be knowing that in Bab al-Mandab, when the Houthis issue started, so although there is a joint task force also, but Pakistan Navy is also doing its own independent surveillance to provide security to those shipping which are coming and going towards Pakistan. So conduct of these exercises under the AMAN, it started off in 2007. So basically it provides a common platform where those navies, those who have interest in these areas, they sit together, discuss out the emerging threats, they carve out the procedures, and if there are already procedures, if there is a calibration is required, so they do it. And beside that, whatever is the emerging threats, technologies are coming up, so they do a debate on that, and collective wisdom prevails, and that's how these platforms are. Not only that AMAN is here, all other nations which are a little better in maritime domain, they are also holding these kind of maritime exercises, conferences, and it all comes under the maritime diplomacy.
So I think that's a very important point you raised about maritime diplomacy. Can you identify for our international audience what is the significance and key features of maritime diplomacy and how it is different from other types of military diplomacy?
Right. We take an example. I'll say that generally what we say that diplomacy is the first line of defense and defense is the last. So taking lead from there, actually the national interests are always guarded by the diplomatic corps. But having said that, if the diplomatic corps comes under stress or maybe some hot prong is to be used, so maritime diplomacy the military diplomacy comes into play. So military diplomacy is part and parcel of our national diplomacy, and within that military diplomacy, then we have the maritime diplomacy. So maritime diplomacy during the war, of course, it is to create conditions for negotiations, but during the peacetime, the flexibility which the maritime forces have, that means that we say all the nations, those who have the seas, they are actually our neighbors. So that means our forces can approach those areas and have exercises there. So we do overseas exercises with them, collaborate with them. Along with that, we also do during the disasters, then there's a rescue, disaster management. The Navy is always there. We have been in Maldives when tsunami came in, so Navy was there to help them out. Uh, Besides that, the recent earthquake which was in Turkey, so Pakistan was there to help them out. A lot of supplies were sent through the sea. Similarly, in the African countries, whenever there is a drought, whenever there is some medical assistance required, so navies always have been there. So these are the things which we carry out. And other than that, other shade is, of course, this AMAN exercise, and with that, AMAN conference, and with that, the AMAN dialogue. So all these, they form part of 1.5 track to diplomacy. And within that, of course, our main aim is to foster greater partnerships with these nations so that we benefit from them and they benefit from our experience.
I think very important points you shared. Can you share some of the key aspects of the AMAN-25 exercise? What does this include? What sort of scenarios are assessed, and what sort of activities are going to be held as part of this entire exercise?
As the AMAN exercise started in 2007, so over the period, it has matured into a very, very respectable maritime platform for discussing the issues. But within that, initially, we have had the exercise which used to be conducted at sea. Along with that, harbor drills which are conducted. Within that, then we started the conference. And in the conference, ideas used to be shared. And with that, not special operating forces have come into play. And along with that, now exhibition has also been added. So these all strands actually grouped together. Within 4 days, these activities are conducted. But this time, there is a change. And that change is that AMAN dialogue has been added. But the conference and the exhibition by the name of PIMEC, they have been detached to be conducted separately towards the end of the year. So that will be somewhere in November and December. So this time, this is a change. So anyway, during these harbor exercises, along with that, we also have a food gala. And within that, our local cuisines are introduced, plus the traditional dresses, along with that, our traditional music. So everything which is related to our culture, that is also projected in this very exercise. So it has a multifaceted space in which overall ambience is created in such a way that it gives a good image of Pakistan to our visitors. So this is a huge, I think, a gathering of the maritime related people. So we will showcase Pakistan's soft image as well. And along with that, the military drills will be conducted.
Indeed, seems that it's going to be a very busy next few days for you and Pakistan Navy. But as an expert of maritime affairs, what are the major global and regional issues which you expect will come under discussion in the dialogue related to the AMAN-25, which you think will provide an opportunity for Pakistan and the global powers and the regional powers and our friends and allies to share their experiences and suggestions in order to better protect maritime security?
Yeah, generally the traditional part will always be there. That means what the geopolitical situation is now in a flux in which the forces are competing, and the status quo powers and the rising powers, they had their own interests. So of course, their contestation is also creating some stress in our region. But having said, now the maritime security has gained a larger meanings. So why I'm saying so, that earlier on we used to talk about the security, the emerging challenges which were normally in the tune of smuggling, narco trafficking, illegal fishing, human smuggling, and the piracy, mainly in these areas we used to talk about. But now it has taken a little broader meaning. That means in which these blue crimes have also taken a new shape, in which technology intensive things have started come into play. That is the use of autonomous bodies which are underwater and overwater also. So they are playing its role. That is a upcoming challenge. Then subsea soil mining is coming up. That is another challenge in which a lot of countries are claiming the areas. Lucky for Pakistan that Pakistan is the only country of this region who has claimed the additional extended continental shelf about 50,000 square kilometer, and making our total 290,000 square kilometer. Now it is the EEZ plus the extended. Now this area is roughly a little higher than the Punjab and little lesser than the Balochistan. So we need to provide a good governance in these areas also. So that is the problem related to this. And within that, the other area is the climate change. It is also playing, now it is taken as a security. And within that, now the maritime forces, which includes the Navy and the Pakistan Maritime Security Agency and the Coast Guard, now they will have to provide security in these areas also, which is the pollution, which is the sea rising problems, which is the mangroves, and which is the coastal areas issues. So all these things are now coming into play. And now a term is being used as green defense. So that means we will have to provide a defense at sea, which is in line with the blue economy, and that is that we are not contributing any green rise in the which contributes towards the pollution, which negatively contributes towards the greenhouse gases, and as well as we have to maintain the sustainability while using these sea resources. So this is what will be discussed during these dialogues as well.
I think it's going to be a very important opportunity for Pakistan to share its perspective, experience, and also showcase its soft power, cultural diplomacy, and professional excellence with some of the leading navies around the world. And as you mentioned, that Pakistan has been regularly hosting such events in the past as well. Now I'd like to ask my last question, that how does such events benefit Pakistan? For a Pakistani, how does naval diplomacy or maritime diplomacy helps Pakistan promote itself and create and explore new opportunities from friendly countries around the world?
Yeah, everything I think is linked with one important activity, and that is the trade at sea. So our about 80 to 85 billion trade, that is import and export, is seaborne. So within our own area, of course, we can do it with the help of the experiences which we are talking about. But outside this, we need the help of those navies, those who are operating in these areas.
Admiral Saab, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insightful explanation and analysis of one of the largest international maritime event involving 60 countries and navies from 60 countries, which are being currently hosted by Pakistan as part of AMAN-25. And explaining its various aspects and dimensions. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to share your feedback and comments on this show. Thank you.